This is the Royals POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Kansas City Royals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Royals Postcast, your live game reaction to Royals games this season. I'm your host, Chance Liebau. Pleased to be joining you for a split doubleheader today as the Royals and Brewers each take a game, as the Royals are now sitting back again at 500 after a really impressive game two. And we'll break down everything that mattered, including the most important plays of the game. Sorry, had to trying to fix some things here. Not great Wi-Fi here at the parents' house, so just trying to make sure that we are on the right page here. I appreciate you all for joining us. A doubleheader today, so we're only going to have one show. That'll be how it always goes. It's how we literally started the show when we had a doubleheader in St. Louis for the Royals. So it'll always be that way for the Royals postcast. Doubleheaders only have one show, but appreciate you all for joining us. Royals dropped game one 5-3. I was actually I'm pretty impressed with what I saw from the Royals offense in game one, except for the just clutch hitting. I thought the bottom of the order today was really, really impressive. I really like what I saw from the bullpen in both games today, and we will dive right into that. Let's go into what you'll be talking about after today's doubleheader.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I think that one of the main things that you'll be talking about is just the bottom of the order offensively for the Royals. In game one, you got some really impressive performances. I've not been beating the drum per se, but I've kind of wanted to see a little bit more of Starling Marte without Lane Thomas hitting at his best. And Starling Marte gives you a 1-for-3 day. He did have an unclutched strikeout in game one with a runner on base. Isaac Collins had a hit in game one. I believe it was a double. Or no, it was not a double. Almost had a home run in game one. And then Jack Caglione continues to impress. You got Kyle Isbell continuing to rake. He is entering after game one, was still hitting over 500. So I think that what the bottom of the lineup has provided you has been really impressive. But I think at the same time, you could come to the conclusion that the middle of the order just has to do a lot better. The middle of the order this season has been a real dry spell for the Royals. Salvador Perez, the only guy he's driven in this season has been Salvador Perez. Vinny Pasquantino has killed multiple rallies this season. I know people don't love me being critical of Vinny Pasquantino, but I'm going to do it. He just has not been good enough in that run creating spot. I'm not going to say that he needs to be moved out of that spot. Vinny's going to hit third. That's just going to be where he hits. But I do think that you for this team to be playing at the best of its abilities, Vinny Pasquantino has to hit a lot better. And I'm going to try and stay positive because we're coming out of this with some pretty positive feelings. The Royals won game two in pretty decisive fashion. Over the last pretty much, I guess, let me do the math here. Over the last 15 innings, the Brewers really didn't have much to say against the Royals pitching staff that honestly was better than the Brewers today. I think that Luinder Avila got jacked up a little bit. His first career major league start didn't go well. We'll touch on that in a little bit. But I do think that the Royals today, I thought they had a good showing. I thought that this is, you're going into game three with an opportunity. You're not looking to salvage a series. You're looking to win a series. And against a team, it's important to remember coming into today, the Brewers were 5-1, best record in the National League. The Brewers were coming off of 2 days rest because they had an off day on Thursday and then obviously had the off day with the Royals on Friday. So a full arsenal of pitchers in that bullpen. And the Royals had every opportunity to win game one. And in game two, I thought that they just took uh, uh, they took advantage of a pitching staff that was a little bit overwhelmed. I was a little bit interested in seeing why they went with the opener in game two with Logan Henderson. I don't know if that was planned. Um, it was a little bit different. I was watching on mute and spending some time with the family, but I don't know. It just seemed a little bit odd that they went with the opener and they didn't go lefty righty. It seemed a little bit different for for the Brewers to do that. But we have to remember this is a team that was entering 5-1, hitting the cover off of the baseball. And number two, you know, they finished with the best record in the entire National League last year. Yes, they had the best record in the National League over the now two-time defending world champion Dodgers. You're going into game three tomorrow with your what some people on this channel would call the ace of this staff. And guess what? You're got a chance to win a series against a really good baseball team. I just think that this is a tough series to win in the position the Royals been put in. But I think that today, the offense, the pitching staff outside of one guy was really, really good. I thought that the offense, there's some real dry spells in that lineup. I think that Salvi is a little bit fatigued. He hit the homer tonight in game two, but outside of that, he hasn't been giving you a whole lot. Vinny Pasquantino continues to hit way too many ground balls. It's one of my most frustrating things with Vinny. He just puts too many balls on the ground. I mean, we're looking at that inning. I can't looking at which inning that was. That was the sixth inning, which the Royals played six in game two. When you're looking at Vinny probably ending that inning with a double play, or not a double play, but ending that inning with a ground out, if not for the fact that Jake Bauers at first just absolutely boots a ball. Um, it's a really tough position to be put in because I don't think you're going to move Salvi up to three hole. I don't think you're going to move Cags up to the three hole. There's nobody in this lineup. I mean, outside of maybe Kyle Isbell because he's hitting so well right now, but you love what you see from Kyle Isbell in the bottom of that order. The problem with the bottom of the order getting on for the top of the order is that the top of the order is just not bringing him around. You got to be better. Salvador Perez was solid today. I really liked what I saw from him behind the dish in game one. It feels like this is going to be a fairly 70-30 split with Salvi behind the plate, which I don't love. But I do think that I think that the one thing today, and I think that from the last couple of games, I think that it's really important for this team to have Carter Jensen in the lineup. I think that he really provides a different kind of pop that Starling Marte doesn't provide, that Lane Thomas doesn't provide, Tyler Tolbert, the guys that are on the bench, Nick Lofton, those guys aren't able to put together at bats like Carter Jensen is. And I really hope that this was not to, no pun intended here, not a wake up call for Carter Jensen, but I hope that them having pretty much nothing on Thursday's game against the Twins offensively after he was scratched, and then today the one game he plays in, they explode for 8 runs. I hope that's a wake up call to how important he is for this lineup and for this team's long term sustainability as a contender in the American League, because he is a player that you want to see in this lineup every day, no matter where it's at. I want Carter Jensen in the lineup more often than not. There's not a guy on the bench I'd rather have. If you're rolling out the best nine, regardless of position, Carter Jensen's in that best nine. And I think that it's really important for the Royals to continue to harp on him as not just a player, but as a person. And, from things that I've kind of heard, he needs to get his S together, if you know what I mean. I think that there needs to be there needs to be a reality check. And I think that today, and Thursday, obviously, the backlash on Friday, hell, he was on Fox News. I mean, that doesn't happen very often for Major League Baseball, much less the Kansas City Royals in ways that you want it to happen. So I think that it needs to be a wake-up call for him to really get his stuff together, because this team needs him to contend and compete at a high level heading into what is a really decisive game three, in which you want to see the Royals play at their best, because they absolutely need to have a good showing in game three against the Brewers. When we come back, we'll talk about Luinder Avila's outing. We'll talk about his long-term outing or long-term future with the Royals this season as a starter, as a reliever. What's the plan with Eli Morgan? And what do we think about Seth Lugo's start today? We'll bring that up when we return here on the Royals Postcast. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is here. It's happening right now. It's one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets. It's nonstop action from tip to final cutdown. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. And here's the best part. You get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new, different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Today's episode is also brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and it's not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and a swap firm. Today's episode is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Okay, let's talk about the rest of the pitching staff. Luinder Avila, I thought that he was not great today. He was actually in the zone quite a bit. First pitch strike rate was just not there. 42% first pitch strike rate. You're in too many 1-0 counts. And this is a Brewers team that is one of the best teams in the majors at working counts, drawing walks. They're not an easy lineup to work through if you're a guy that lacks really elite command. And I don't think Luinder Avila really has that just yet in his arsenal. I think that the road to success for Luinder Avila is kind of similar to what we saw from Chris Bubich, hopefully without the Tommy John surgery. But I think that the path to success for him is getting an opportunity in a bullpen role to really shine, continuing to work on your stuff, gaining confidence, having an opportunity to win a job out of spring training camp, and then entering the year with your name in the starting rotation and being able to go from there. I think that it's going to be really difficult for him to find a spot in this rotation for the 2026 season because of the names that are in front of him. I think that both Ryan Berger and Stephen Kolek, when he returns from his injury, are likely going to have a head start on him in terms of starters. I think the plan was for Luinder Avila to get an opportunity first because Matt Quatrero really likes him as a bullpen guy. Because if you call him up, you have to use him in the bullpen at least for it. Calling him up and not placing Michael Waka on the injured list allows you to keep him on the roster in the bullpen. I don't think Ryan Berger or Stephen Kolek, I don't think their stuff plays up like Luinder Avila's does. That fastball curveball combination is really, really lethal out of the bullpen when really he can really hum it in there. But I think that out of the rotation, he just lacks that third pitch. I think he needs a slider really badly. And I think that his stuff will play at its best in the bullpen. And I think that that's probably the strategy and why they went with him and not Berger coming up for this start. It was because they said, well, we're going to have to place Falter on the injured list. Waka is only going to miss one start. So really, we're going to throw him this one start, kind of get a feel for where he's at. I think if he had success, the plan is probably to keep it as a six-man rotation. But now you've got an extra high leverage reliever that you can use because you're down Carlos Estevez. Steven Cruz has looked really pedestrian so far to start. So you can kind of pencil in Luinder Avila in a spot in that bullpen until we see Bailey Falter return. I think that that's going to probably be the solution for this Royals pitching staff while Bailey Falter recovers from whatever injury he's dealing with. I think you're going to see more of Luinder Avila. I'm really excited to see what he's able to do. And Gary brings up that the World Baseball Classic catcher William Contreras being uh, on the uh, on the uh, on the Brewers didn't help. I don't know how much that really plays into. I don't know how much that really plays into strategy at the major league level. I think that it's very much team to team. I think that there's so much film and research and data on these guys already that I don't think that a catcher being on another team is really going to be all that much of a difference, or else we'd see that as a lot more of a commonality because of how volatile backup catchers are. But I do think that we're going to see Luinder Avila in the bullpen for at least a short term. And I thought Seth Lugo battled through some pretty mediocre stuff. I was a little bit puzzled why Matt Quattrero left him in for so long when he was at 86 pitches and had the bases loaded. And he was able to get out of a jam. But I thought that was one thing that I kind of had flagged on my note card, like, okay, this might be something we need to talk about tonight if this one really gets busted open. Instead, Seth Lugo is able to get out of a jam. Thought he had pretty mediocre stuff by his standards tonight. I think that they were really saved by being able to use Eli Morgan. I think about where this Royals bullpen is at right now. You use Eli Morgan for 3 innings tonight to get you through game two of a doubleheader in the midst of playing as many games in a row as you are, 12 games in 12 days. You had to put Falter on the IL. You were down Carlos Estevez. Getting 3 innings out of Eli Morgan, I think, saved this team. And then for Seth Lugo, threw a lot of curveballs, was way up with his curveball in terms of usage on that. In the zone for the most part, 54% in the zone, 67% strike rate. Fastball velocity was down, was in the strike zone for pretty much all of his pitches except for his changeup. I think that Seth Lugo is going to have really hit or miss stuff depending on the team. The Brewers are a really good baseball team, a really good hitting team. I'm really excited to see how they stack up in the National League because despite trading some guys and moving on from some players, I still think they're one of the best teams in the National League. And I think they're going to be a really fun team in the National League. So while I do have my concerns about his stuff as a mid 30s pitcher, kind of in its decline in the midst of a new contract, I think in this year, you're going to see some really hit or miss stuff from him. He's either going to be lights out or you're going to see a team really battle tooth and nail to try and work his pitch count and get him out of ball games early. Because while he does have those, 18 pitches that he can throw, if you can't get him for strikes and if the other team is just really good, sometimes those aren't very good. But tomorrow we get Chris Bubich and I'm blanking on the name of the Brewers starter, but we get Chris Bubich tomorrow. I think that's going to be a really good matchup for the Royals. Bubich had a really good outing last year against the Brewers. If you remember when they played in Milwaukee, I believe it was the finale when Chris Bubich threw. He was really good last year against them, and it will be Kyle Harrison going for the Brewers. So we're likely going to see I would imagine we're going to see no Cags tomorrow. I thought Cags played well today. Probably no Cags. You're probably going to see Jensen behind the plate, and you're probably going to see both Lane Thomas and Starling Marte in the outfield. So, and probably Nick Lofton as well. Maybe Nick Lofton gets a DH or a start in the outfield. Maybe Vinny Pasquantino gets a day off. He's hitting 172 right now with a sub 500 OPS. Maybe they give an opportunity for Vinny to just get some rest against a lefty and Kyle Harrison. We'll see. But I would expect for tomorrow's game to be really interesting. But unfortunately, tomorrow, no show tomorrow. Easter Sunday. Encourage you all to go and spend time with your families. It is a holiday, and I'll be electing to spend mine with my family. I'll have the game on in the background, but I didn't want to give you guys a half what edition of the Royals Postcast. So encourage you all to spend time with your families. Enjoy the Easter holiday and remember the reason for the season. So appreciate you all for joining us here on a Saturday night. We will be back on Monday when we talk about the Royals and the Guardians as the Royals look to get a head start on their division rival in Cleveland. See you next time for the Royals Postcast.